Ermilova. Yay.
Hi all.
So, before when we were organizing her speech, I was insisting on calling it teaching young cats new tricks, but she decided to choose something more neutral. So what was it? What is it going to be, Natasha?
Well, I'm waiting for my speech. I forgot all.
No, don't worry.
So.
So you're doing something in QA as far as I know.
Yes. And I will start. Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm an analyst. And around years ago, I took on QA. Part of my job was introducing a new juniors to it. And that's what I want to talk about today.
Sorry, do you feel comfortable pressing the button?
Yes,
good.
It's okay. It's normal. Most of you can drive. And
no, I don't, I have to say.
Maybe. And everyone who can drive want to do it safety, with pleasure, but every driver remember his first day as a driver. How was it? Calm and nice, or full of panic? Both situations are normal, but we can make the first day of a new QA in our team more comfortable and productive. Let's discuss how we can help. Very often, the first day as a QA looks like this. Why? New team, new tools, new rules, and all of this around the new QA. In my opinion, is the same as the first driving day. In a big city, in a new big city, in a traffic jam, with somebody nervous near you. And the great fear is to make a mistake, to do something wrong, to look stupid. It's very important one understand that they are a part of the team. That team and team lead will support them. Will teach how to build effective communication inside the team, how to interact with different team. Now I want to discuss with you, I want to tell you 3 points which team lead should to give a new QA. Let's discuss why technique as defensive driving may help us in testing. The 3 more points of the main points of defensive driving are be careful, take care about yourself, take care about the passengers, manage the pedestrians, collaborate with other participants, pay attention to the details, the weather, the road type, your mood, maybe the mercury. Analyze what's going on around your car. What may happen or not happen if you or somebody else do something or not do something. Does it remind of something? In my opinion, with different participants, but testing is the same. Be careful, take care about the customer, about your teams, about the value. Pay attention to the details, to attribute, mapping, maybe our lovely retrograde Mercury. What's going on around the feature? What may happen or not happen if you or somebody else do or not do something? I want to give you more 3 point, three advice, which team lead, in my opinion, must give to a new junior, to a new QA, to junior. The first is inner peace. It's very important to understand for juniors that sometimes making mistake, it's normal. It's a good way to take a new experience, to use something deeply, to increase the level of some skills. The second is ask question. Ask colleagues, documentation, developers, yourself. Very, very important to understand for juniors that there is no stupid and unimportant question. As soon they ask a question, the lower the risk that the question will develop into a serious problem. And the third is believe in yourself. But in my opinion is the most important advice. Because when junior in the team and he doesn't feel support of your team, of his team and his team lead, it's very difficult to work and be successful. That's all. You are a wonderful audience. Thank you for here. And I'm ready to answer a question if you have any.
Sorry, again, I will use my power to ask you some very boring questions, Natasha.
Yes.
Well, it's just my idea that being a QA engineer, a tester, is probably the most practical job in the whole IT universe. I mean, it's like becoming a surgeon from the very first day you start doing something. But how can you teach from the very beginning those young and happy people to do something very practical? I mean, from the very first day. Of course, you can give them some manuals in the beginning, but still you just say like, just test it. How does it work?
First, he should start. I don't know. Really, when not young, maybe when junior came to team, he should prepare. He should start with some simple features. Read the documentation, ask more questions. Ask everyone and try to do it. Try again and look around. As I said in my presentation, look around. What around this feature? What will happen if he do something? I don't know. And step by step, test by test, he will increase his level. And
it sounds like it is some sink or swim strategy. I mean, you just start doing something, and either you succeed or you fail.
Yeah. No. I thought that he or she should ask question to team.
You know, the problem is it's not for everyone. I mean, asking questions. There are some people who are totally unable of asking questions.
Why?
It just happens. It's okay. Any other questions?
All people are different, and if not junior, if any guy, I don't know. Somebody don't want to ask a question, can't ask a question. It's a big problem because he or she must sit with this problem, with this question, and very soon it will be a big problem.
Yes. And yeah. So, a question from you?
Okay. So you mentioned you made the switch from being an analyst manager to the QA position. What motivated you to make the switch?
From analyst to QA?
Yeah.
Now I have returned. So I can explain. It's I will need a new experience. I will need to increase some skills. And testing, I think it's the best way for analyst. Part of time, be a QA.
Yeah. And yes, please.
Thank you. There is a old and well-known strategy called shock therapy. And in comparison with this strategy, your strategy, safe driving, what advantages it provides?
Uh,
I don't like shock therapy, shock strategy.
But to be honest with you, what you told us, for me, it sounds exactly like some shock strategy. So in the beginning of your speech, you said that you need to look around all the time, and it seems, for me, it sounded like a QA junior must be extremely overprotective about everything, and then you say, oh, you should believe in yourself, you should listen to people, you should talk to people. Okay, so what is your solution?
You must look around you all the time. When you test or when you walk around the street every time. And if you will not did it, might happen something, I don't know. So it's, I think it's one of the more important.
Anyone else? Yeah,
If a business owner finds a bug in production, who he has to blame, the developer or the QA specialist, or the fault should be distributed between them somehow?
First, he blames the manager.
I think here we shouldn't find who was worse, developer or QA. We should fix this bug as soon as possible.
Okay.
And from there, yes.
Do you know what testing tools?
Testing tools.
Testing tools?
Load testing.
Load test. You mean for high load applications? What is it? Yeah. So how is it possible to test a high load application? Basically, maybe creating some I don't know.
Could you explain a bit more?
Well, I will try. He's probably asking about high load applications. For example, some services which will probably which must be available for 1 million users at the same time. But how can you test this application before it will go to production? Have you ever witnessed anything like that?
I think this question for one new speech. So,
What did you say? Sorry.
JMeter.
JMeter.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to say something, Natasha?
I think. Yes, let's discuss this next time.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have an idea for a topic someday. Yes.
Maybe 1,000 junior QAs.
It's shock strategy.
Indian strategy.
So, any more questions? Because I have my own questions. Anyone else? Yes, please.
What do you think are the most important qualities of the person who wishes to become QA? Like, I mean, in terms of soft skills maybe, or in terms of their mindset, what is the most important thing for those people?
Yeah, and sorry for interruption. I will add my question. Do you think that a QA can be an introvert? It is somehow connected with the question.
Very good question. I think that QA should not be introvert. She must have good soft skills, be a good communicator, because he or she in his work must communicate with developers, with analysts, with external teams, with very many teams. And if he will be an introvert, it will be collapse.
It's going to be disastrous. But any other qualities he must possess? I mean, something else. I mean, being extremely attentive or patient. Yeah.
Maybe patience, but they must be a good communicator. It's really very important.
And Natasha, now I want to ask you. Our first speaker told us about the fintech industry today, and there was a question about knowing the domain. I mean, this particular area. And what do you do for a QA, for a junior QA to know more about a particular area? Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say you are developing a very boring application for a securities depository. I mean, they just store information about securities, so it is connected to stock exchanges. And this guy, this new person who hopes to become a QA, he knows just nothing about it, and for him it's very theoretical. Will you do something about it?
As I told before, it's strategy step by step, with some simple features to...
Well, maybe you can teach him how to be a QA, a tester, different techniques, different tools, but will you spend some time trying to educate him about, I don't know, stock market or how the banking industry works?
He should do it by himself. But before it, we should discuss the more important points to, I don't know, some task. Because if he will start read some documentation, all documentation about this area, shock area, he will maybe die or something bad. Some may happen with him.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yes, please.
I think that your cases about how to get calm and not very nervous QA is very good, but how do you inform the person that he should ask questions, he should look around? What is your strategy for you guys?
Talk with him.
So
It's simple.
And
Guys,
when you say person, ask something if you don't know.
it doesn't work.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
don't hesitate. Ask if you have any question.
Yeah, it's really serious.
Really, when people start to talk to each other, it's I forgot the word.
It resolves.
Решает the most of problems.
So it solves the majority of problems. Yeah.
You can pay for every answered question.
Well, it sounds weird, but you're right. Maybe there is a chance that an introvert can be a developer, but a QA, well, it's not a very good idea to be an introvert when you are a QA specialist. Sorry, you wanted to ask something?
How do you motivate them, these Jews?
Jews.
At the start, if they come to be gay, they are motivated before it. But when they start to be gay, not leave they alone in the first.
And by the way, Natasha, will you tell us something briefly about the QA department itself? I mean, I have no idea what it looks like because in a company I work for, there is just one QA specialist who does everything. But what does a QA department look like? I mean, and what is the role of so-called juniors in that department? I mean, are they really useful? What does it look like? I mean, for example, you have like 10 people in your QA department, and 3 of them are juniors. Do they have any value? Tell us.
in department we have very many juniors, but in my team yesterday one new junior has come to team, and now we will start work with him. In our team 5 QA specialists and 1 junior.
Okay, and okay. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Yes, and I have this question, like they say that the true heroes are always in shadow, and we know a lot of examples of good programmers like Linus Torvalds, Mark Zuckerberg, and etc., etc. But do you know maybe there is some people who are famous in QA industry? Because people always talk about programmers, but I haven't heard something about like famous QA or guys who made something great for this industry. Some names as well.
Difficult question. Maybe all famous QA famous in
For doing something wrong, probably.
no. Famous. I don't know how to say it correctly. In the dark side, and nobody, nobody sees.
So
they
basically
yes.
they're hidden.
In underground.
They're hidden. Yes.
Somewhere. And by the way, Natasha, I want to ask you, just imagine that something really terrible happened on the production server, and you in your team you try to analyze. But in this situation, what is the best strategy towards the so-called juniors to make them feel the whole responsibility, but at the same time to avoid frightening them to death when something really important happens, like you lost your database, something like that?
I'm interested in why junior do something.
Well, not necessarily they did something, but you know, the whole team has a problem, and maybe the juniors must, I don't know, come to some conclusion. So what is the best way to teach them that disaster is a disaster, but something needs to be done after that? Like analyzing the past, some retrospective analysis or something.
Use the stick.
Stick.
No, it's a bad way. I think yes, I agree with you. Topics. They should see, analyze, and after that to a retrospective meeting, maybe discuss with our team and understand in which points in the future they must pay attention to avoid this situation.
And by the way, well, it's not about juniors. When something goes wrong, do you think it's acceptable to punish someone, like saying it's your fault, you did it again? How does it happen when something goes wrong?
What are you?
Yeah, I mean, just mention that a group of QAs made some mistake. They didn't test a particular part of the functionality, and then everything went wrong. Will you just make some conclusions based on that experience, or you as a boss theoretically say something like, "Oh, it's your fault, Masha. Never ever do it again"?
I think that my slide. No.
Yeah, it is lost.
Okay,
We just have some
okay,
bits
well,
here.
So some bugs. As I told before, inner peace. Because if you will nervous in this situation, you will not do something correct.
So you're saying that you must be very soft with people. Someone else wanted to ask something?
What tools and skills do you think every QA should know? What tools and
Should know.
Should know.
Tools and skills.
Tools and skills. My lovely Kafka, Postman.
So Kafka. What else? What did you say?
Apache Kafka. It's a broker.
Yeah.
OpenShift. Kibana or many other tools. I think it may be a different from project to project. I don't know, but the main. This is.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, I have my final question, hopefully. As you know, and by the way, it applies even to some of my acquaintances, there are some people from from different industries. For example, a guy who worked for a cafe and now he says, "Oh, Alibek wants to become a QA specialist." He goes to some programming school and they say, "Well, guy, we will teach you how to be a QA specialist, and it will take you just 3 months," and he finishes it. And what will you think about a specialist like that? I mean, is it just something unprepared, or will you hire a guy like that? What are your expectations going to be?
Why not? If the guy wants to be QA, he may take some courses or I don't know, something else. And if he want to study, if he want to be QA, why not? We will help.
Yeah, but you probably agree with me, maybe, that well, it's not enough to finish some training, some Yandex practicum courses whatsoever. Well, they shouldn't have any illusion that they are prepared for real work. I mean, it's all about practice.
We talk about juniors.
Yeah.
Not middle, not seniors. So if somebody want to start as a QA,
Why not?
why not?
Okay. And then from you?
I have a short question, maybe some kind of joke, but would you agree or not that black hat hackers should be considered as subspecies of QA engineers? Because they are persistent and improving endlessly their skills in testing.
So, well, I'll put it differently. Would you hire, like I said, a black hat hacker who is supposed to do something bad as a QA engineer?
I think no.
Even as a security tester?
Very good questions, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anyone else? Well, it looks like yes.
Maybe you had the practice of mentoring on the juniors
Mentoring.
by the middle QAs, and what's the percentage between the juniors and middle QAs in your company?
Yeah. Well, basically, do juniors listen to mid-level specialists who consider themselves seniors, probably?
In my practice was two juniors who came, if I understand your question correctly, in my practice was two juniors who came in our team, and now they are very good specialists.
Yeah, but well, when they were juniors, were they trained by some what we in Russian call midwi, like mid-level specialists? Who was their supervisor?
No, middle, senior.
Senior. What about middle people? Can they be supervisors, or they're not good enough for that?
I think in if we talk about juniors, yes. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Okay, thank you so much. It looks like we've finished. Natasha, thank you so much for your presentation. Careful.
Are you recording a video?
It's just
He's taking
Yeah.
a selfie.
Thank you so much. So our meetup is over, but the party is not. And
And
what?
the present.
Oh,
Yeah, present.
sorry, I always forgot. I even forgot to introduce myself. So, yeah. So, which question did you hate the most?
I like a question from you. A couple of questions.
Good, good.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much, everyone. Now we'll have a short party in the end and relax. And I just wanted to say some words of thank you words. Thank you. Big thank you goes to those guys from that company because they support us tremendously, and to our friend Nina from Accenture and that company which feeds us every time. Use IT Matters code when you order a pizza. It can save you some money. Thank you so much.
Only Rostov.